Welcome to Evolve. I am so honored and grateful and excited for what's about to unfold over the next 14 days of this Micromind Intensive. I built this program, this container, to be very short because with Instagram, things are ever changing, right? And I do feel like with the way this program is going to get built, you can consume this in a linear fashion where you watch training after training after training in the order that it's presented, but it could also serve as standalone trainings as well as ones that you can like watch, go to take action on, come back to the next step. So I wanted it to be presented in a way that you didn't feel like you had days and weeks in between the trainings if you wanted to consume and move quickly. But I also wanted you to be able to pace it in a way that fits where you are in this season. So I thought if I just deliver the information in a very short context, then you guys have the power to move in a way that feels right for where you are right now. So I welcome you to our very first training, if you are consuming this in a linear fashion, called Energy. This is the foundation of your Instagram experience in Instagram 2.0. We're going to get into what I mean by that in just a little bit, but I do have a couple of housekeeping things that I want to cover, particularly for those of you who are in the live session of Evolve. I wanted to say Energy there. If those of you that are in the live session watching this in real time. For those of you who are watching this months or weeks down the road, this might not apply directly, but it's still going to have some good information. So for those of you who are in the October 22 cohort, there are a couple of things I want to cover. First up, thank you for your patience with the timing of today. I knew that there were certain things I wanted to say and I wanted to get across in the messaging today. And then this morning, like I had a different thing came through and I had to add it in. And so I was like, okay, this isn't quite ready for delivery. So I did get delayed on that a little bit. In the days to come, if you want to watch this live in the trainings, they will be presented at noon Central Time each day this week. So it'll be noon Central Time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We will take off the weekend. I'll be checking in with you guys, but there won't be any new trainings delivered. Next week, it will be noon Central Time, Monday through Friday. And on the Friday sessions, we will have Q&A. So in just a second, towards the end of the program, or today's delivery, I'm going to share with you the Google form where you can drop your questions. You can always drop questions right here in the comments of this video as well. But I just wanted you to know that we will be doing live trainings at noon Central Time the rest of the program. You will also have Q&A opportunity with me. You also, as part of your subscription, you're getting a content kit, which I will deliver tomorrow. I think I'll have everything buttoned up for that. So you'll be getting a content kit where you'll get templates, you'll get access to Reels audio that I think you should be aware of, and then you'll also get a workbook. But I did want to ask you guys, so for those of you who are live right now, by live I'm meaning in the October 22 cohort, okay, so I have two options. So the workbook is either going to be delivered, this is a similar workbook, so it's not this very one, but I could either get it delivered in a way that is a bound workbook, so all of your pages are like in here and you do get like the step-by-steps and all that. Again, this is not your exact workbook, but I can bind it like this so you get a workbook. Or I was looking on Canva and they also have like just a notebook. So I could give you the prompts from the workbook, but then you have an entire notebook that you can fill. And so the notebook will have Evolve on it and it'll have like one page on the inside that'll have some details. But I didn't know if you guys would prefer to have like a workbook that is guided with what I give you and it has like the step-by-steps, or if you prefer to get this in a digital format and then I would give you a notebook that you can then fill with your notes from this session or use for other work and marketing outlining. So let me know. I want to leave this up to you guys. The pricing is fairly similar, so I am okay with either. Do you prefer to have the workbook like in person, like I was just showing you, and then you can write in that as you please, or do you prefer to get a notebook and then the workbook would be delivered digitally and you guys can fill in the notebook as you see fit? So let me know your thoughts and I will build it as such so that you get that next week. Okay, well, I'm thinking next week. Okay, let's get into energy, shall we? I'm like buzzing. I'm so excited about this. So I will be flipping back and forth between myself and a presentation that I put together on the screen. If you feel like you're pulled to take notes, fantastic. I did also just complete a masterclass last month, and the instructor and leader said, no notes, please. I want you to be fully present, and then you can always come back to this. So whatever you are feeling called to do, you can take notes, but also know that some of this, particularly in today and tomorrow's delivery, are going to be a lot of just like intuitive things and not so much the step-by-step note taking, but do what you feel called to do, okay? All right. So this is energy, Instagram 2.0. So we went over the housekeeping. We will be live at noon the next several days. You guys let me know if you want a notebook or a bound workbook. Okay, so when I've delivered programs similar to this, when I showed you the workbook a little bit ago that was entitled Instagram Academy, last year and the year before, I did deliver a training entitled Instagram Academy. And it was built after 2.5, 3 years of me not only having my own presence on Instagram for my accounts, but building Instagram accounts on behalf of clients. And up to that point, when I first delivered Instagram Academy to the 4 women who are in that cohort, and have since gone on to have really great followings of their own. But in that specific Instagram Academy container, I really leaned on the how-to. We spent more time talking about the specifics of how to craft a caption, how to build a reel. Reels were very new at that point. How to use stories so that you can sell and build. And we will go into all of that today and through the remainder of this program. But what I have come to know and come to realize is that that was in the day of Instagram 1.0. So what do I mean by Instagram 1.0? That's when Instagram was still in its teenage years. It was still in that phase of being one of the big boys, like it was beyond just the startup phase. It had gained some traction and it was going and evolving from being like this new up and coming app to then being in this phase of life like a teenager who is a human, where they're kind of finding themselves. They're testing things out. They're taking risks. They are stretching and seeing what their boundaries are and trying to find out where they fit in the grand scheme of things. Now, I don't know if that relates to you as a teenager, but when I was growing up, for example, up until I was let me back up. My parents were very strict. So they were very young when they had me, 18 and 19. And as a result, by the time I was a teenager, like 13, 14, and 15, they weren't that far removed from it. So they knew like what it was like, and they still remembered what it was like to be a teenager. They also decided to spread our siblings out a little bit longer. And so I had a sister who is 6 years younger than me and a brother who is another 6 years after that. So my early teen years, my preteen and early teen years, my parents were not only like really careful and like limited what I could do, but I also had younger siblings who I was expected to take care of and help out with. So I was very responsible. As a result, in my freshman and sophomore years of high school, I was very in my shell. Like I was active in student council. I was kind of involved in drama and some of like the background characters of the plays and musicals. I loved working on the costuming that took place and helping with the behind the scenes. I was really into my academics, and I was the kind of kid who loved English class. Writing papers filled my soul. I worked on essay after essay, and particularly research papers where I could utilize all of my different colors of those Bic ballpoint pens that came in purple, pink, blue, and lime green. The pink and the purple were my favorite. But I loved having the note cards where I could write down in color code the specific facts that I took from the encyclopedias and the reference desk at the library. And then I could take those note cards and I could organize them so that my facts were presented. I remember one time my parents were out for the night and I was babysitting, but after my brother and sister went to bed, rather than like binging TV shows and eating all the Doritos and Mountain Dew, I sat down with my note cards because I was working on a paper. I think this one was about the 1950s, and I was tying in like Jacqueline Kennedy. And I had so much fun crafting that paper. And you guys are probably looking at me like, wow, I know, life of the party right here. But that's how I loved to spend my early teen years. And my parents had this boundary that they had established that I could not date until I was 16. So I still had friends, we had sleepovers and things like that. But I really respected and wanted to stay in the bounds of my safe little space that my parents had constructed for me. And even one time I went bowling with my friends and we wore makeup. And I wasn't supposed to wear makeup quite yet. And I ran into my aunt at the bowling alley and I was like, I need to get home. My dad's going to kill me. And my friends still to this day talk about, remember how we had to run across the cornfield so that we could get back home faster so Molly wouldn't get in trouble? Yes, I know. But when this like 16 thing came about, it was like I did a 180. So I went from in the 1 month, my birthday is in the summer. So in the 1 month from when school ended my sophomore year until July 4th, about 1 month, I went on a class trip to Mexico. I got my first like real job as a waitress. I turned 16 and I had my first boyfriend, kind of. I had my first date. And so that in 1 month was huge, huge shifts. And I went from being that girl who like still had friends, she was still social, she was still involved, but she just like wasn't being her full self. She was being like in this safe space that she loved and she felt great about. But now she was in this space of really wanting to stretch and test out the waters. And the remainder of my high school career, I was in cheerleading and I was in the front of the plays and I was leading as like the vice president and the president of the student council. And I was going on dates with boys and I was drinking beer and doing a bunch of things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but within the realm of still being under the umbrella of my parents, still in like a relatively safe space that did have boundaries, but I was really pushing and testing those boundaries. Now, I'm not sure if you can relate to any of this, but that was the Instagram of yesterday. So when I led Instagram Academy about a year ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I guess, that was very much the Instagram that we were teaching to. Instagram had a specific set of steps. There were some boundaries that were there to ensure that you would be successful. And if you did these prescriptive steps, that would get you to that growth phase. And then from there, you could kind of take it as you wish. Now, today, where are we? Today's Instagram is like the young adult version of humanness. We have stretched beyond that stage of testing boundaries and redefining ourselves and figuring out where we fit and what we truly enjoy and what we're naturally meant to do and what people think of us. We're beyond that discovery phase that is so intense and so compact, like that 1 month of me turning 15 into 16. The Instagram of today is like that young adult. The Instagram of today, like a young adult, knows where they want to go. So think of a young adult who has like they're in their last year of college education. They've basically decided what they want their next step to be. They've decided on the career path that they're going to pursue. Not to say that they're going to be there forever, but that is the next step. And they are going to take specific actions and do specific things so that they are set up for that graduation date when they can go enter the real world. Much like that, the Instagram of today knows where it wants to go. They want to prioritize creation. They want to prioritize creativity. The Instagram of today knows what its market likes, but also what the priorities of the business side are. And with that knowledge, we can no longer just do a prescriptive set of steps in order to achieve success. We have to really lean in to knowing what the Instagram platform is going to promote, what the Instagram platform is prioritizing, and what their vision is for the company. And then we need to be creative in order to show our real selves and connect with people again. Because the Instagram of tomorrow is connecting people through educational, creative content. The Instagram of today is kind of retooling some of those algorithmic things in the background. And in that process, we've kind of taken away that immediate success that the algorithm used to be able to provide. And now we're really leaning into what these people and what these creators on the app have to share and connecting again on a human level. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's unpack. So, the Instagram of yesterday, the algorithm was in charge. If we followed steps A, B, C, or D, we wouldn't get in trouble. We were living within the comfort zones that Instagram established. And we were then kind of transitioning into this rebel phase of Instagram where they were growing and changing and risk-taking, and some algorithm things were prioritized, some algorithm things weren't. But now in today's day and age, Instagram knows where it wants to go. We still have some glitches and some reprioritizing of what Instagram is going to like naturally help us fulfill, but there's no silver bullet, if you will. There's no do this and you will get that. Because right now, the missing piece of quote unquote success on Instagram does not rely on a specific aspect or a specific feature of the app itself. The missing piece that we bring to the table that fits into the Instagram of right now and where Instagram wants to go in the future, the missing piece that we all innately have is knowing ourselves and the energy that we uniquely bring to the table. That is the missing piece. So when I told you about this Instagram Academy that I had been teaching in years past, the actual strategies and tactics were the thing. That was the missing piece, but no longer. Today, we have those things that can help us, but the missing piece is what we bring to the table. It's who we are naturally. It's how we show up and what we do in our own unique ways that we can then share and provide value for with all the people who follow us. That is the missing piece, and that's going to be the differentiator that makes us feel like what we are doing is making a difference. It's going to be that missing piece that connects us with those people who could be ideal clients and customers. It's going to be that thing that is so hard to define, but it's the thing that encourages our followers to tell their friends to follow us again or to share our posts on stories because this person has a lot of things to share and, they're just a really good follow. It's not because you took strategic action steps. It's because you dug into who you are. You leaned into your gifts, your natural things that you are more apt to. And you said all those things that didn't feel right to you. You're like, that's okay because I don't need those. If I lean into me, that's what's going to magnetize followers to me. That's what's going to unite my loyal followers to keep coming back for more. That's what's going to cause them to tell their friends to come follow me too. And that's where the business is going to feel the compound effects of being on Instagram in this Instagram 2.0 edition, if you will. Know thyself and know thy energy you bring to the table. That is your differentiator. And so that's why we are starting with this in the very first iteration of Evolve. So exciting. I'm going to take a quick drink. Okay. Now, why do we want to know ourselves so much? I don't know about you guys, but if I'm being really honest, I think part of the reason why I didn't get this training kicked off at noon, in addition to like having that extra idea, was also that I was feeling a certain way about myself. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but sometimes when I'm stepping into the next version of me, when I'm stretching myself in what I'm doing. So for me, that might look like bringing new information to a training or tackling a different subject matter or trying a different piece of content. I feel unworthy. I feel sometimes like I'm not educated enough to teach on this. I feel like that imposter in my head going, are you sure about that? Do you know enough to share this? Are you really who you say you are? Are you really going to help them in these big ways? And so then I start to think and I start to overthink and I start to say, well, maybe I should add in this thing or do that thing instead. But that's all the fear talking, right? When I can quiet that fear for just a second, maybe it's like me just sitting still, or maybe it's me like going and doing a workout quick. When I can get that little voice to just be quiet for a second and I can lean into myself, I can say, oh yeah, that's just the fear trying to give me a hurdle or a roadblock, because I know that I really am educated on this thing. I know that I really am feeling like this is the next big step for my business from where I am to where I want to go. I know that this really is the thing that I am particularly and uniquely qualified to talk about and that I'm feeling called to. So you guys might feel like that too. But in this process of knowing yourself, it's only you who can know where you're at today and where you want to go. And it's only you who has the power to step into that or to put the brakes on. So when we can know ourselves, when we can know the unique qualities that we possess that make us really good at certain things, when we know exactly what we like right now and what we're really leaning into in the future, we're the only people that can know that. Nobody else around us, not coworkers, not spouses, not contractors. You know where you want to go. And so this step, this energy work, this knowing who you are is foundational because you are the cornerstone. You are the foundation of the business. You are the person who has the vision. And by having that, I don't know, we're going to talk about this in a second. Remind me to come back to this. By having that, you can lean into what is called the triple A effect. I did not coin this. My friend Andrea at Choose Your Journey with Andrea, she's going to be on an upcoming podcast in just a few weeks. If you're watching this in the future, she has an episode in November of 2022. But she has coined this triple A phrase. And what she refers to as the triple A are the three components of abundance, alignment, and authenticity. And now Andrea is a life coach, so she applies these three subjects to a person's life, where they can find abundance in their life, where they can feel aligned in their life choices, where they can feel like they're showing up authentically on behalf of themselves in their whole life. But I also feel like this AAA can be applied to us in our business, in our marketing, and for the purposes of us here in Evolve, to our Instagram. So let's unpack this step by step. And then we're going to get a little bit further into the energy. So on Instagram, a lot of times we can get that imposter syndrome kicking in because we're feeling this sense of comparison as we're scrolling the app. But I want you to really lean in, and this is going to be a little bit of an action step. The next time you open Instagram, I want you to open up your mind to the abundance that is there. So the next time you see someone also in your industry that you're following and you say, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's doing that. Look at her. She's doing such great things. Don't think that that means you cannot. What that means is that, oh my gosh, look at what she's doing and look at what the people who are following her are saying. Oh my gosh, I bet people out there want to say the same thing about me. And abundance on Instagram also indicates that, or what it also tells me is that there are so many followers out on Instagram. There are so many active accounts that there's no one who can have all of the possible followers and vibe with every single person on the Instagram app. There are people who are going to be naturally drawn to me as a social media educator, and there are going to be people who are naturally drawn to other social media educators because of the vibe that we put out. But there is enough for everyone. So I want you to think about abundance in those two ways. Look at the abundance of ideas that are out there and say, oh my gosh, if this person can do that, I bet I can too. And look at abundance also in a way of thinking like, there are plenty of people out there who I can uniquely serve and who are going to be uniquely drawn to me. There is no lack of follower. There is no lack of engagement. There is no lack of business available to you on this app. It is abundant and it is ever flowing. So keep that in mind. Now, alignment right here. How I feel like alignment applies uniquely to Instagram is by making sure that what we're doing while we're on this app is not just because we saw other people doing it. So abundance, yes, we see other people doing things all the time that can help inform us what we could try. But we have to run that through the filter of alignment because we are going to see hundreds of trends. We're going to see millions of different kinds of audio. We're going to see thousands of people who do what we do. But we can't do all the things that all these other people do. We have to run all of these ideas and all this inspiration through our own unique filters and say, does this feel aligned not only to your business? So if you see an influencer out there doing a fashion blog and you run a makeup business, like not everything's going to be directly applicable, but you can filter out some of those things that you say, oh, I could align that to my business in this regards. But alignment also means running it through the filter of who we are. Remember, know thyself, know thy energy. Even though we see this awesome reel of people doing this choreographed dance and we're like, that really caught my eye. Wow, that's a really cool idea. Maybe I could incorporate that. But if in your head you're like, I don't like showing up that way on Instagram, I don't feel comfortable doing that, then you need to run that through your filter of saying, this is an abundant idea that's available to me. But in myself, I know that I'm not a dancer, particularly not a dancer who's going to record herself and put it out on the internet. So even though it's a great idea, that is something I'm going to toss because it is not aligned to what I want. And it is not aligned to what's really going to move the needle for my business. So alignment is taking all of those abundant ideas and making sure that they are aligned to where your business is going and who you are as the business owner and visionary. And the last of the AAAs for my friend Andrea is authenticity. So showing up and sharing who we are and how we are in the moment. And I know this might make some of you feel a little pit in your stomach, particularly if you went through that marketing to your energy session that I dropped as a bonus, because certain Enneagram types and certain human design types and profiles, you might feel like that is something that you have a very hard time doing. And that's okay. But showing up authentically means that it doesn't always mean that you have to show up and show yourself doing your makeup or what you're eating today. But it just means showing up authentically in how you serve and how you share and provide for your clients, customers, and followers. So as an example, I have a friend named Laurel who has a gorgeous, gorgeous line of planners, like the paper and pen kind. And last year, when she ordered her paper goods, she had to order them from overseas. And it was in the midst of the 2021 like severe shipping issues that were going on. So not only was she like making a pivot in her business at that time because she felt more aligned to this paper calendar and planner that she had put together, she was pursuing that, and she was saying authentically, like, this is who I am. I'm not doing this other business that I came up being known for. I'm choosing to go this other direction. And she was doing that authentically, and people responded, and they sold her out of her planners in October of 2021 for her 2022 line. But the hard part of that was like the demand was great, but because of those shipping issues, Laurel was not able to get her paper planners in hand until December 27th. So across that whole time frame from when she made the pivot into these planners, she was telling people about it, then she sold them and sold out. Now all these people want their order fulfilled. Laurel could easily have been like, yes, it's coming, it's coming. Don't worry, things are great, and come to Instagram with this like plastered on smile that everything is fine. And in the background, what we can't see outside of the camera lens is like everything going up in flames. But what Laurel decided to do was say, you know what? I got here on this showing up in alignment and authenticity, and I'm going to continue even through these shipping delays and issues. So from October through December, every week Laurel showed up and authentically shared where she was at with the delivery of these items and how she was feeling in the moment. And there were days where she was like, oh, we saw that it got unloaded at the port. Yay. And then the next week she was like, I'm sorry, guys. It's still sitting in port. There's a backup for days at the LA port, and we just don't know. And she would say she just didn't know. So that's a demonstration of showing up in authenticity. It doesn't mean that you need to be like sharing every single part of your day. It just means that when you are in the moment and feeling called, you can share how you are in that day. It doesn't mean everything needs to be polished and perfect. It can just be the way that it is. And being yourself is being in your energy. And that's that differentiation that's going to set you up for success in this Instagram 2.0 world. So think about those AAAs: abundance, opportunity is everywhere, alignment. Run all those opportunities through your specific filter, knowing what's going to apply to your business and to you as a human, and then show up in authenticity. Not everything needs to be polished. Not everything needs to be perfect. It just needs to be coming from a place that is true. Okay? All right. I have so much more to say, and I've already been doing this for a long time. So thank you for hanging in. So let's talk about what is energy. And this is the final component of today's training. So we talked about Instagram 1.0, Instagram 2.0. We've talked about the AAA, and we've talked about how your energy is that differentiator so that you can like really execute on the AAA. But what is energy itself? Now, I know you guys are familiar with the concept of like energy in physics, right? So an object in motion will stay in motion. Think about the pendulum that's on like the desk set where you've got all of these little silver balls hanging from the little rods, and when you pull the one on the end back and let it go, the energy is transmuted from that single ball that you've moved. The other balls that were stationary, the energy is relayed through them. So this one comes and hits, and the energy is passed from this ball to this ball to this ball, and then that one. And then the one on the end swings all the way out, and then its momentum carries it back, and the energy gets transmitted, and the ball on the end goes swinging out, and it goes back and forth until the energy dissipates and they come to still again. Now that's an easy visualization of energy. But energy can also be felt in ways beyond what we can see. So when I come to these trainings, or when I go to post on social media, or when I go to write a blog or record a podcast, you guys can feel and hear my energy too. And I've used this example several times, but I still find it very relevant. So if you're like, Molly, I don't understand what you mean by feeling energy, because this can be a new concept if you haven't been open to it before. But energy is definitely felt through vibration. Okay, let me see. Did I get there yet? Okay, we'll just go here. Energy can definitely be felt because energy, everything we do, emits a vibration into the space and the environment around us. So just like those balls in the pendulum, as they click back and forth, they're transmitting energy through these invisible energetic waves. Our thoughts have invisible energetic waves. Our feelings definitely have invisible energetic waves, and they are transmitted to the people and the environment around us. Now, like I said, if you don't believe me, think of these examples. We've all been in a situation where we are entering a room, and there's a couple of people there already, and we walk in and immediately we can feel tension. Now, I know you guys can probably go back to a memory where you've been in that situation. Maybe you didn't enter a specific room and feel the tension, but maybe you felt someone like coming at you, like walking towards you to engage in a conversation, and you're like, you automatically know that this person is like, they're wired. They're like wound up. I'm thinking like there was one morning when I was teaching, this was like 10 years ago, but I had to give a kid a bad grade on a paper. And I was in my classroom the next morning, like standing at, it wasn't quite time for like school to be in session, but kids were definitely starting to come into my classroom to like set their backpacks down and like they were getting ready for the day. And I had a parent come in and I recognized that it was the parent of that child that I had to give the bad grade to. And I could just tell, I mean, obviously I had those other markers that kind of told me, oh, I knew the situation about how I had to give the bad grade, and then I saw her and I was like putting the pieces together, but also I could feel as she was coming towards me that this was not like a conversation that was going to be like, how can I help him get a better grade? How can we solve this? How can we fix this? I could feel in the energetic transmission, okay, this is going to be a tough convo that we're about to have. This person is coming at me not from a place of like openness and wanting to help and solve a problem. This person is coming to me with a very much of a feeling of like anger, very much a feeling of shame, very much a feeling of how could you do this? And you've been in conversation or in situations like that before too, where you can read a person. And sometimes it's through facial expression, body language, but a lot of times it can just be felt through the vibration that they're emitting. And in converse to that feeling of entering a room and you can cut the tension with a knife, we've also been in situations where we walk into a room. And for me, that my example is like a wedding reception where two people that you're like, they're just meant to be together. You can feel that. And it's like the love in the air is palpable and you can feel it on your skin. And it's just like there's so much love and joy in the room that it just like, it makes you tingle. Because joy and love has a very high vibration. And you know that there are people like that too. When you see them or when you like go to meet up with them in person, like they just emit joy and love and you want to hug them. And that's because we all have these energetic vibrations about us as people, but also in the emotions that we're carrying in a moment. So when we talk about what is energy, one of the first things I talk about, and this concept isn't unique to me, this I got from a mentor, Susie Holman, when I was in a program of hers earlier this year. But that was the first time I was introduced to this concept of the vibrational ladder. So down at the bottom of this ladder, these feelings are going to emit super low vibration. And this is when, like, if we walk into a room and people have just had a fight, there might be anger, there might be jealousy, there might be insecurity, or maybe you are going through a season of your life or your business where you're feeling fear or grief or shame about something. And these emotions emit a very low vibration energy, and it can be felt. Again, compare this concept to walking into the room where there are intense emotions and intense anger, and you just interrupted something like intense. There's also people who have these low vibration emotions, and you can sense it about their person. Now, when we go to social media and we go to post on Instagram, and we might have this beautiful smile on our face, we might present this happy veneer, but if we are feeling underneath all of that overwhelmed or doubtful or discouraging or insecure, the smile and the veneer we bring is not going to cover up those low vibrations. Those low vibrations can be felt through the screen. Trust me. There have been times where I've launched programs and I have come to it with a sense of, I'm going to put this out there, but nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to think this is possible. I don't have what it takes to execute on what I'm saying. I can't believe that anybody thinks that I could do this for them. And that common, recurring message to myself of doubt and fear and being unsure, of course, that was felt through the screen, and people were not interacting. And as a result, those were not my best-selling programs because I was insecure, I was doubtful, and I was creating from that space of low vibration, and that low vibration energy was passed through what I was creating, and it almost repelled. Think about a magnet. There's a pole, the North Pole on a magnet is attracting, the South Pole on a magnet is repelling. And when I brought these low vibration energies to my content creation process and my business process and my offer, it was not attracting, it was repelling because my energy was not in it. You may have had parts of your business show up like this too, or your life. And of course, there are times where we don't have control over how these feelings come up in ourselves, right? There can be times where life comes at us and we are in a state of grief immediately. We're in a state of fear immediately. We're in a state of frustration immediately. But by knowing what energy is and knowing how important it is to what we're doing, we can remove ourselves from the content creation, from the Instagram, until we are able to get back into a higher vibration feeling and emotion. So, for example, this summer, I was in a state of and I feel like a lot of people have been. So if this is you too, I'm very interested to hear. But I was in a state of insecurity. Is this where I want to be? Is this what I want to do with my life and my career? How do I get the result I want when it hasn't been proven that I could do it already? And I was really insecure, very fearful, and feeling shame and powerlessness. And so what I did in September, late August, early September, was when it was kind of at its peak. And so what I did was I just slowed down and I took a beat and I said, I cannot create new programs right now because it's just going to be inauthentic and it's going to be coming from a place like this. Because in July and August, I felt like I was creating a ton of programs and offers that weren't selling out. If you guys were in any of them, know how truly grateful I am, because that was definitely at a point where I was just pushing, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I was pushing so hard because I thought that would be the differentiator. But in September, I took my foot off the brake and I did the things that allowed me to feel some of these higher vibration energies. I took time off. I visited family. I did my workout in the middle of the morning instead of first thing. I went for outdoor walks and got in nature. And I was able to eventually raise myself up from these feelings into more honestly, somewhere in the middle. We're not always going to take ourselves from the lowest rung of the ladder up to the highest, but if we can even move ourselves up just a couple of rungs, it helps. It helps a lot. And then I was able to free up space and produce more creative outlets, produce more creative content and offers. And instead of creating from a place of being insecure, I could create from a place of hope and gratitude. And when I create posts from these spaces, if not up here, even just right here, holy crap, there's such a difference in the response that my audience gets and that the return exchange of energy, because I'm creating from a place up here. Okay? So knowing your energy isn't being in a state of saying, everything's awesome. because that can be a veneer sometimes. And even if you do present that on Instagram and things are like burning all around you, like we can't see it, it might be out of shot, but that vibration comes through. So you're better off to just do that energy self check. Say, where on this ladder am I showing up right now? What are some of the things I can do to help me get out of this low vibration and into this high vibration? And in the meantime, you can either just like take a beat and not create for Instagram, or you can show up with that AAA of authenticity and just share where you're at in the moment and then bring your people along with you. And that's what I did. And I feel like when I have kind of, I don't know that I've turned the corners like 100%, that I see my vision again, but it's definitely that I'm creating authentic work and it's creating a response in my audience. And so by taking that time to go away, and then when I came back, create from one of these higher vibration energies, it really is transmuted, just like those clickety-clack balls on that pendulum. That energy can be transmitted. And I'm transmitting positive energy and hopeful energy and gracious energy and enthusiasm and service. And it's being transmitted and causing those balls to clack higher and higher instead of from fear or jealousy or insecurity. And those balls are just clacking small and small. So your energy is important. It can be felt. Your energy is not just in your emotions on that vibrational ladder, but your energy can also be illustrated through your Enneagram or your human design. And in that marketing to your energy training, we went into this in detail. If you haven't watched that yet, that's okay. But I do want to share with you that certain Enneagrams and specifically certain human design charts will unpack this for you a little bit better. So, for example, when I bring up my human design chart, you'll see that I've got these 4 arrows here. And if you're watching this in the October cohort, Kristen, who is in this group with us, she is a human design expert. So I can do like some of this surface level stuff, but if you want to really dig into your human design, Kristen is going to be an excellent resource. But I've learned that these little arrows here, I noticed one time, I was like, all my arrows are pointing the same direction. And when I was looking at some of my friends' charts, they had arrows pointing all different directions, or some were all the way opposite of mine. But I was like, what does it mean? And what I came to find out is that by having all of my arrows point to the right, now each arrow does symbolize and kind of give you different information, each of the 4, but when all of them are pointing one direction, it means that I am 100% at my aligned capacity. I am 100% working in my zone of genius, my skill set, and working to my energy when I'm allowing myself to work in feminine energy. Now, what does that mean? Masculine or feminine energy? And no, we all have this. So when we are women, we don't all, like, not all women have 100% feminine energy, and not all men have 100% masculine energy. But the feminine energy, the one that I am 100% tuned to, is when you are tuned for flow, okay? So for me, for years, I have this friend, and she is so inspiring to me, and she has spreadsheet upon spreadsheet. Like, she has packing lists of all the vacations she's ever took, and she has them categorized and color coded so that the next time she goes on a beach vacation, she knows exactly what she packed on her last beach vacation, and so she doesn't forget anything. She also time blocks her calendar so that she's not working for 10 hours because she's shooting from different things all the time, but she's able to work and focus for like 1 hour, and then her next hour is a different chunk. And I'm so inspired by this. And also, I've tried it myself, and I cannot do that. Like, spreadsheets don't work in my head. I've tried them, and they frustrate me endlessly. But what I've learned is that in my feminine energy, when I'm 100% built to be feminine, that means I am meant to have some freedom and some flexibility. I am at my best when I allow inspiration to come. And when I can kind of like move to my own beat, when I can schedule to my own like feelings, when I can create when I'm feeling inspired instead of when I'm scheduled to on a calendar. And that's my feminine energy. Your feminine energy is also the energy of receiving. And so that means, like, instead of feeling like I need to create more and more programs and do more things, it means that I'm at my best when I can initiate something, start something, and also give myself space to sit back and allow things to unfold. I don't have to be pushing. Now, some of you, when you look at your human design chart, you might have left facing arrows, and that means that you have some masculine energy in your chart. Now, the opposite of feminine energy, of receiving and flow and like vibey, masculine is the energy of doing, taking action, executing, organized, streamlined, structured. That's masculine. And some of you are naturally tuned to that, and that's awesome. And some of you are naturally tuned to the feminine. And some of you have a mix. We all have a mix. But knowing that I'm 100% feminine has given me so much freedom in how I approach this Instagram 2.0. Because in the days of Instagram 1.0, I was really teaching about like having a formulaic approach to your posts and to your weekly content plan and to your monthly content plan. But some of us who are in that feminine energy, we might need to have like a loose model of what we want to talk about and allow ourselves to like play with that in the day to day. We might need to not structure and batch schedule. A masculine energy person is going to thrive in that structure, right? They're going to love laying it out in a spreadsheet and being planned weeks in advance. While those of us, myself, I like to have a loose topic that I'm going to talk about and then give myself the time to develop that and inspiration to strike in the day. And then I can just post so that I'm showing up in that exact moment with authenticity. Now, we have to know that in Instagram 2.0, there is space for both of us. There is space for people to be super scheduled and masculine, and there's space for people to create on the fly and the feminine. And you need to lean into, again, knowing who you are and what your unique talents are for and what you are most attuned to and aligned to. Because Instagram can be energizing or it can be depleting. And if we're showing up constantly in this space of fear or shame or powerlessness, if we're trying to execute in an energy, masculine or feminine, that is opposite of what we truly are, if we are being inauthentic, or if we're sharing things that we think are going to work, but it doesn't feel like it's aligned to who we are and what we want to accomplish with this business, Instagram is going to be depleting and we're going to hate showing up in this space. But when we can know how we work the best, what we are wanting to talk about, what we, us as humans, individuals, are built for in this lifetime as us, not what we are supposed to do, what we should do, but what we are meant to do uniquely. Instagram can be a place that energizes us and therefore magnetizes others to us. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is intention. When we have done the work of knowing the energy we bring to the table, knowing our authentic selves, knowing what we are aligned to produce and share, we can open up this app every day with intention and know maybe not exactly what we're going to say and how we're going to say it, but we can show up and say, this is the feeling I want to share with others. This is how I want to serve my followers today. I want to spend 10 minutes connecting and sending uplifting voice memos because that feels in line with my building community. And that intention will keep us like blinders on, so we're not in this state of comparison and lack. It also gives us a mission to execute on Instagram so we don't end up down a rabbit hole. So all of this is really important and works together in this Instagram 2.0. So we've covered a lot of different things today. We've shared different stories, but in the end, in essence, of this first training, I want you to know that it's all within you. You've had it in you all along. I want you to trust you. When it comes to social media, we get so caught up in the guru advice. We get so bent out of shape about like how many posts we should have in a week or what time our ideal audience is online. And exactly how long our reels should be or what filter we should use on our Instagram stories. And while that plays a part, it is not as important as being in your AAA. Seeing and recognizing the abundance around you. Running it through the filter of alignment for you and your business, and then showing up authentically as you. And when you know that AAA, you can do that self-energy check. You can work with your masculine or feminine tendencies, and you can come to the app with intention so that you can serve your community, that you can give them the feelings and emotions that will come through the screen and vibrate out and emit that positivity or that hopefulness or that gratitude so that your followers can't help but cling to you. That's why energy is so important on this app. Now, in tomorrow's session, we're going to talk about energetic exchange. So today was all about us. Tomorrow is going to be all about identifying who that audience is and how do we magnetize them to us and how do we really create community and relationships on Instagram. Okay. I hope that was powerful. Maybe not powerful. I hope it was impactful. That's the better word. I hope that was impactful. I hope maybe that changed a shift in your mindset for today. Now, as you leave today's training, what I want your next steps to be are to, number one, access the PDF of these workbook pages. And again, reach out to me specifically if you would rather get that bound workbook, if you think that would be more helpful, or like a notebook. But I want you to answer these workbook pages that I have attached. So first I want you to go through your small business data. We're going to kind of softly walk into this. So your name, your company name, what are the four different topics you post about right now? What does your company do? We're going to gradually get a little deeper. So who does your company help? Where do you vision yourself when in your marketing? Why do you market on Instagram? And where else do you show up? This could be online or in person. Right here, what are some of the strengths? And you can definitely utilize your Enneagram or your human design strengths or just the strengths that you've come to know about yourself and your business. What are those things that personally or business-wise are really strong about you? And where do you sometimes notice that you tend to struggle? What are the challenges on Instagram in business or in life for you? And when you close your eyes and think about where you want your business Instagram to feel and look like 90 days from now, what does that vision show you? I want you to take some time to really dig into these questions. It's not super complex, but it does involve some thought and digging in a little bit deeper. So go through some of those questions. And then tomorrow we will talk about the energetic exchange. Wednesday, well, if you're watching this in the October 22 cohort, Wednesday we're going to talk about engagement. So how do we get people, what are the strategies that we can bring people to us in the engagement phase? And then we're going to talk about education and using education specifically via posts in order to serve your audience, okay? And then we'll have a Q&A on Friday. If you have any questions, you can submit your questions into this Q&A form on Google. I'll drop the link into our Facebook group, but at any time you're going through things and you want to just get more if you want me to expound upon that a little bit, just drop your question in here and we will go through those on Friday. If you're watching this on replay at a later date, you can always reach out to me, Molly at mollyknuthmedia.com, or drop your question in the Facebook group and I will go through and answer that. But for the immediate, between today and tomorrow, or if you're going to binge these on a weekend, I want you to really just take a pause right now and go through some of those questions. The small business data, and then tune into yourself. Know thyself, know thy energy. What are your strengths? What are your struggles? And where do you see your Instagram account 90 days from now? Thank you so much for being here. I love talking about this, and I think I might love tomorrow's energetic exchange just a little bit more. But I'll be back tomorrow with your next training.